The film opens with Duffy stepping into a smoky bar. At the back, a group of rough-looking men are deep in a poker game. Duffy, without a dollar to his name, pawns his watch for a seat at the table. A few hands later, he wipes the floor with them, and the leader of the group does not take it well. A fight breaks out, but Duffy moves like a man who has done this before, taking them down with ease. Watching from the corner is Max, a man fresh out of prison, quietly impressed by what he sees. After the chaos, Duffy checks into a rundown motel nearby. He has no permanent home, just a habit of drifting from place to place. Beneath the scruffy exterior, he carries a heavy past. Years ago, he served as a major in the Special Forces. A mission in Afghanistan went terribly wrong, and out of the entire unit, only 2 men made it out alive. One is Duffy, the other is his old comrade, Boyka. The next morning, Max approached Duffy, still fresh from the fight he had witnessed at the bar. Duffy eyed him cautiously, unsure if he wanted to talk. Max, however, wasn't backing down. He assured Duffy he had something worth hearing and even offered to buy him breakfast. Intrigued, Duffy decided to sit down with him. Over their meal, Max got straight to the point. He had seen Duffy take down the thugs, and he knew the man had serious fighting skills. Max suggested they team up and make money off those talents. Duffy hesitated, skeptical of Max's offer, but Max seemed genuine, promising to prove he wasn't just another con artist. Soon after, Max led Duffy to an underground street fight organized by a man named Donald. Donald ran the show, matching up fighters, and after the first fight, he made a challenge by offering anyone brave enough the chance to take on his champion, a massive guy. Max, knowing Duffy had come for a match, pushed him into the ring. But when Duffy found out that Max was the one he was supposed to fight, he refused. The crowd started taunting him, calling him a coward, until Duffy reluctantly accepted the challenge. In a matter of seconds, Duffy took down Donald's champion. Max pocketed the cash from Donald, but they had to get out fast when sirens echoed in the distance. As they hurried away, Max asked Duffy if he had a place to stay, only to learn he didn't. So Max offered to let him crash at his sister's house, handing Duffy some of the money he'd earned. When they arrived at Rachel's house, they walked right into chaos. Rachel was kicking her boyfriend out for misbehaving. In the heat of the moment, Duffy found himself in a fight with the boyfriend. Amid the tension, Max discovered that Rachel, a widow with a young child, was struggling to keep everything together. The next day, Max found himself in front of Parker, the feared mafia boss. Max had a lot of debt hanging over him, and Parker made it clear, if he didn't pay within a week, the amount would only grow. Desperate, Max decided to settle things in the ring. He had found a new fighter, and he was confident it would work out. Parker, always eager for a good fight, was pleased with the arrangement. He had 2 undefeated fighters ready to go. Elsewhere, Duffy was busy cleaning Rachel's house. When Rachel and her daughter returned, they were surprised by Duffy's manners and thanked him for his hard work. That night, after a pleasant dinner, Max came home looking a lot more relaxed. It seemed Duffy had made a good impression, and things were going well. Max asked Rachel and her daughter to give them a moment alone. Once they were out of earshot, Max confessed his trouble. He owed Parker a huge sum of money, and it couldn't be paid off little by little. Max needed Duffy to fight again to help clear the debt. After a pause, Duffy agreed, knowing he couldn't leave Max hanging. The scene shifts to Parker questioning Riggs, who turns out to be Rachel's ex-boyfriend. He is the man she kicked out of her house and the same one Duffy had beaten up. It's revealed that Riggs had been working for Parker all along, but he had stolen the group's money. As the tension rises, corrupt police chief Lynx steps into the room. He demands answers from Riggs about the stolen money. It doesn't take long before they uncover the truth. Riggs had hidden it all at his girlfriend's house. Without a second thought, Lynx takes Riggs' life. Then he turns to Parker, instructing him to find out who Riggs' girlfriend really is. The next night, Max and Duffy head to the fighting arena, ready to compete. When they arrive, a women's fight is underway, with Lynx observing intently. The first match ends, and soon it's Duffy's turn. Donald, the fight coordinator, warns them to not underestimate Duffy, but it's clear from the start. Duffy takes down his opponent in a matter of seconds. As Duffy and Max prepare to leave, Parker stops them. He wants Duffy to fight once more, this time against his right-hand man, Ford. Max knows how tough Ford is and refuses, thinking their debt has been settled. But Parker doesn't back down, offering triple the payout if Duffy wins. Duffy agrees, but only if the stakes are raised to 5 times the amount. Parker quickly agrees, showing no hesitation. Shortly after, Duffy stepped into the ring, facing off against Ford, the undefeated fighter. At first, Ford had the upper hand, dominating Duffy with ease. But as the fight went on, something clicked. Duffy thought back to his days in Afghanistan. It wasn't long before Ford started to backpedal. In the end, Duffy came out on top, nearly bringing Ford to the mat. At home, Duffy and Max couldn't stop smiling. The money was flowing in and life was looking up. Max couldn't help but thank his lucky stars for Duffy's presence in his life. Without him, Max would still be buried in debt, and Parker would have probably had him killed by now. The next day, Parker reached out to Lynx. He had tracked down Riggs's girlfriend. Lynx wasted no time. With her team, she headed straight to Rachel's house, pretending they were just looking for Riggs. Rachel, confused, told him she hadn't seen him in ages and didn't know where he was. But the officers weren't buying it. They insisted on searching her house, claiming they were after the money Riggs had stolen. When they found nothing, Lynx gave Rachel a cold warning. Find the money within a week, or things would get much worse for her and her daughter. That evening, Max and Duffy returned home, only to find Rachel's house had been raided by corrupt police earlier in the day. Inside, Rachel explained that they were searching for money hidden by Riggs, but she had no idea where it was. Max pieced it all together. The corrupt cops were working with Parker. He quickly told Rachel and her daughter to stay put while he and Duffy headed straight for Parker's headquarters. When they arrived, Max and David confronted Parker about the harassment of Max's sister. Parker denied any involvement, claiming it was a larger operation beyond his control, one he couldn't oppose. He went on to explain that Riggs had confessed to hiding stolen money at Rachel's house. If the money wasn't returned, Rachel and her daughter would be killed by the corrupt police. In a tense moment, Parker suggested that Max take responsibility for the debt. Feeling the pressure, Max and Duffy decided to leave. But as they stepped outside, they ran into Lynx and her deputy. In the car, Max was overwhelmed, unsure how to repay Riggs' debt. He knew Rachel and her daughter were at risk, but Duffy reassured him, saying he was ready to fight once again to save them. A few hours later, Duffy stood outside Rachel's house, his mind clouded with memories. Rachel appeared walking toward him and asked why he never seemed to sleep. Duffy didn't hesitate. When he closed his eyes, the faces of his fallen comrades haunted him. Only he and one other, Boyka, had survived. Elsewhere, Max was sitting down with Donald, working on a plan to set up a major fight for Duffy. The stakes were high, and the prize money could settle Riggs' debt. That would mean Rachel would finally be free from the grip of corrupt cops. Donald, seeing the opportunity, agreed, but not without a price. He'd take 30% of whatever Duffy earned. The next morning, Donald went to Parker with news about Max's challenge for a rematch. Donald saw it as the perfect chance for Parker to get revenge after their last loss and pushed him to take the offer. After a moment of hesitation, Parker agreed and they set up the fight for that evening. By nightfall, Max showed up with Duffy at the underground venue. The air was thick with anticipation as wealthy spectators lined the area, eager to place bets on the fighters. Parker and Lynx were in charge of the event, confident that Duffy would be an easy win. Lynx even made a wager that if their champion lost, Parker would be responsible for the fallout. But Parker wasn't having it. He calmly revealed that he had dirt on Lynx's criminal activities. If that evidence ever came to light, it would spell disaster for her and her entire team. While tension built inside, Rachel was outside taking out the trash. She noticed something strange near the bin, a bag of money buried in the ground. As she dug it up, she realized it was her daughter who had buried it, all because she was fed up with Riggs's cruel treatment toward her mother. Rachel's daughter apologized for her actions, and in that moment, things began to shift. The tension was building as Duffy and Donald rushed through the case. Donald had placed a $5 million bet on Duffy, urging him to win. But the fight was over in an instant. Duffy easily knocked out the officer, and soon they discovered that the cop had already lost a previous match. The situation spiraled into chaos, and Duffy, along with Donald, decided it was time to make a quick escape. As they rushed out, Max called Rachel, urging her to prepare to leave the city with her daughter. Rachel mentioned that the police had found the money they were looking for, but Max was insistent they had to leave immediately. Max and Duffy arrived home, urgently telling Rachel and her daughter to get in the car. But before they could drive away, Corrupt police officers ambushed them. In the confusion, Rachel's daughter was shot. Max immediately called for an ambulance. Once Rachel and her daughter were rushed to the hospital, Duffy turned to Max and said they needed to find a solution. He suggested they pay a visit to a friend who could help. Meanwhile, Donald was making his escape with the betting money, but was shot by a mysterious figure. It was a representative from Lynx who had been sent to take the money by force. Max and Duffy met up with Boyka, a former military comrade of Duffy's. Duffy quickly explained their plan to fight back against the corrupt police that very night and mentioned they needed weapons. Boyka assured them he had everything they needed in his car, adding that Duffy had once saved his life on the battlefield. Boyka led them to his car, which was loaded with weapons. He offered to join the fight, but Duffy hesitated, not wanting to put him at risk. Still, Boyka insisted, reminding Duffy of the debt he owed him. With weapons in hand, Duffy, Max, and Boyka made their way to Parker's headquarters to confront the corrupt police. Parker warned them to stay alert, revealing that the police were after him as well. Just as they prepared to face off, the corrupt police surrounded them, and the battle began. Boyka, Max, and Duffy fought fiercely, taking down the Lynx men one by one. In the heat of the fight, Parker cornered Lynx and ended her life without hesitation. But then, Lynx trapped Max and demanded Duffy's surrender, threatening to kill Max. With no choice, Duffy gave in, but in a split second, Max shot Lynx unnoticed by the others. When the dust settled, Duffy turned to Boyka and realized he was gravely injured. He tried to comfort him, but it was too late. Boyka passed away in Duffy's arms. The next day, Max arrived at the hospital to find Rachel's daughter awake and ready to go home. Once they were back, Rachel sat down and opened a letter from Duffy. In it, he thanked her for letting him stay at her place and mentioned the money he had found in the trash, advising her to use it wisely. Duffy promised that once everything settled, he would return and marry her, and that's how the story ends. So the moral of the story is, if your life is a mess, just find a broke ex-soldier with great punching skills and your problem is solved.